GRIMORA.
Snow gathered along the fence line of the old manufacturing plant, piling against the locked gates and settling into the cracks of the loading dock. The factory had shut down early on Christmas Eve, earlier than usual, giving workers time to reach home before the storm worsened. By nightfall, the building stood dark and quiet, its long windows reflecting only falling snow and distant streetlights. Caleb Morris remained inside longer than planned. He worked security on overnight shifts and was responsible for the final walkthrough after shutdown. The power grid to the production floor had been cut, leaving only emergency lighting active in hallways and stairwells. The machines themselves were silent, their control panels dark. At 11:18 p.m., Caleb finished checking the west wing and moved toward the central floor. His boots echoed softly on the metal grating as he crossed between rows of idle equipment. Conveyor belts hung motionless. Robotic arms rested in fixed positions, frozen mid-task from the last shift. The factory felt larger at night. Without workers, sound carried farther, and the air held a cold stillness that settled into the steel. Caleb paused near the main assembly line and listened. Only the distant wind outside and the faint hum of emergency systems reached him. Then a sound cut through the quiet. A low mechanical click echoed from somewhere deeper in the floor. Caleb stopped. The sound repeated, followed by a soft whir like a motor drawing power. He turned toward the noise. One machine, halfway down the line, glowed faintly as its indicator light flickered on. That should not have been possible. The circuit for the production equipment had been shut down at the breaker. The machine did not move yet. Its light remained steady, illuminating the surrounding floor in a dull yellow circle. Caleb approached slowly, radio in hand. Static filled the channel when he tried to call in. At 11:32, the conveyor belt beneath the machine jerked once. The movement was brief, almost hesitant, as if the system tested itself before committing. Then it stopped again. Caleb watched closely. No other machines showed signs of power. The rest of the floor stayed dark. He remembered stories older workers shared during breaks. Years ago, before automation upgrades, a night shift operator had been injured during a late December run. The line jammed, and when he tried to clear it, the machine restarted unexpectedly. The factory shut down production for days after. The operator never returned to work. The belt moved again. This time, it continued, slowly at first, then settling into a steady rhythm. The rollers turned, carrying nothing forward. The sound filled the floor, metallic and deliberate. Caleb felt vibration through the grating beneath his boots. Footsteps sounded behind him. They moved across the metal floor with clear weight, matching the pace of a person walking, but no echo followed them. Caleb turned. The space behind him was empty. The sound stopped when he faced it. At 11:47, another machine powered on, then another. Lights flickered along the line, one by one, until several stations glowed in sequence. Conveyor belts engaged, synchronized in a pattern that matched the factory's old operating rhythm. Still, no workers stood at the stations. The temperature dropped noticeably. Caleb's breath fogged the air. He backed toward the exit, keeping his eyes on the machines. The belts continued moving, empty and purposeful, as if processing an invisible shift. At 12:59, a loud tone sounded from the central control panel. The panel lit up fully, displaying a familiar status message: Shift active. At midnight, The machines reached full speed. Robotic arms moved through programmed motions, lifting and lowering nothing. Presses cycled without material. The factory floor filled with sound, every machine running as if a full crew stood in place. Caleb stood frozen near the door. The footsteps returned, moving between the stations, stopping briefly at each active machine. He could hear them clearly now, pacing the length of the line, checking work that did not exist. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the sound faded. The machines slowed. One by one, they powered down. Lights dimmed. The conveyor belts rolled to a stop. The control panel went dark. Silence returned to the factory. Caleb waited several minutes before moving. When he checked the breaker room, all switches remained in the off position. Power logs showed no anomalies. By morning, the factory looked unchanged. Management dismissed the incident as a system glitch caused by temperature shifts and aging equipment. But workers whispered about it afterwards. They said that every Christmas Eve, after shutdown, the factory ran one final shift. The machines moved, the line operated, and something walked the floor, completing work that had never been finished.